We drift tonight through the silent ocean of the night sky, where the stars are scattered like lonely islands. You might believe that the universe is a crowded place, filled with burning suns and swirling galaxies of light. But the truth is far stranger and far more hollow than any of us have ever dared to imagine. We have always looked at the bright points of light and assumed they were the true shape of reality. Yet between those fragile flickering candles lies a darkness that is not merely empty space, but something else entirely. It is a vast and breathing silence that holds the galaxies apart like dust motes floating in a colossal cathedral. Tonight, we descend into the greatest discovery of our time, which whispers that we are living in a ghost town. It is not just that space is big or that the stars are far apart in the velvet night. The terrifying realization is that our entire Milky Way galaxy is floating inside a colossal region of absolute emptiness. They call it the Keenan-Barger-Cowie void, and it is the largest structure we have ever found. It stretches for 2 billion light years across the fabric of the cosmos and swallows everything we have ever known. Imagine waking up in a house that you thought was full of life only to find it abandoned. That is the feeling of modern cosmology as we realize our local universe is a desolate and lonely wilderness. We are not living in the bustling city center of the universe where matter and energy are dense and vibrant. We are living in the suburbs of creation where the lights are dim and the neighbors are vanishingly far away. This darkness is not simply a lack of material, but a physical presence that shapes the flow of time. It pushes against the galaxies and drives them apart with a force that we are only beginning to understand. You can feel it if you look up at the patches of sky where the stars seem to disappear. There are holes in the tapestry of the night where the light of distant galaxies cannot reach our eyes. It is in these quiet spaces that the true nature of our reality is waiting to be found. The KBC void is so large that it defies our ability to comprehend its scale in any meaningful way. To cross it at the speed of light would take 2 billion years of travel through absolute and crushing silence. It is a sphere of underdensity that makes the rest of the universe look crowded and claustrophobic by comparison. We have spent decades mapping the lights of the cosmos while ignoring the shadows that lie in between them. But the shadows are growing longer, and they are telling us a story that we have tried to ignore. The story is that we are alone in a way that is both beautiful and deeply unsettling to consider. We are drifting in a bubble of emptiness that separates us from the true currents of the cosmic ocean. The gravity in our region is weak because there is simply not enough matter to hold the universe together. This is why the galaxies around us seem to be fleeing away faster than they should be moving. It is not just the expansion of the universe that is driving them away into the dark and endless abyss. It is the emptiness itself that pulls them outward like water draining from a vast and invisible basin. When you stare into the void, you must understand that the void is also staring back at you. It is a mirror that reflects our isolation and forces us to confront the silence of our own existence. For a long time, we thought that the universe was the same in every direction we looked. We believed in a principle that said matter was spread out evenly, like butter on a piece of bread. But the KBC void has shattered that comfortable illusion and replaced it with a landscape of peaks and valleys. We are living in one of the deepest valleys where the matter has been scooped out by ancient forces, It is as if a giant hand reached into the early universe and cleared a space for us to dwell. But this clearing is not a sanctuary so much as it is a desert of unfathomable proportions. The stars we see are just the survivors that managed to cling to the edges of this great nothingness. Most of the matter that should be here has flowed away into the walls of the void far beyond us. We are left with the crumbs of creation while the feast takes place in distant clusters we cannot reach. This realization changes everything about how we measure the age and the speed of the universe around us. It explains why our measurements of cosmic expansion have been conflicting and confusing for so many uncertain years. We have been trying to measure the universe with a ruler that is warped by our own local emptiness. The Hubble tension is the whisper of this void, telling us that our perspective is flawed and limited. We are measuring the speed of galaxies from the inside of a bubble that distorts everything we see. It is like trying to measure the depth of the ocean while standing in a shallow pool of water. The KBC void creates an illusion of speed because matter flows out of the void toward the denser regions. This extra motion mimics the expansion of the universe and tricks us into thinking the cosmos is exploding outward. But it is just the local traffic of galaxies fleeing the lonely neighborhood where we have made our home. The silence here is heavy because it is the silence of things that are missing from the world. We are missing the dark matter and the gas clouds that should be filling the space between the stars. They have all drained away over billions of years, leaving us in a state of cosmic poverty. It is a poverty of substance, but a wealth of solitude that allows us to see the distant universe. If we lived in a dense cluster, the night sky would be blindingly bright and full of radiation. But here in the void, the sky is black and clear enough to see the light of the beginning. It is a blessing and a curse to live in such a quiet and forgotten corner of reality. We are safe from the violent collisions and the intense radiation that plague the crowded centers of galaxy clusters. But we are also isolated by distances that will never be crossed by any signal or any ship. The KBC void is a prison of space that locks us away from the rest of the cosmic community. We can see the lights of other cities in the distance, but we can never leave our island. The 2 billion light years that surround us are a moat that protects us and traps us simultaneously. You can feel the weight of those light years pressing down on you when you close your eyes tonight. It is a pressure not of air or water, but of pure distance and the time it represents. Every photon of light that reaches us has traveled through this wasteland for eons just to touch your eye. They are weary travelers that have crossed a desert where nothing exists to slow them down or stop them. The emptiness is so pure that particles can travel for 1 billion years without hitting a single atom. It is a vacuum more perfect than anything we can create in our most advanced and sealed laboratories. And yet this vacuum is seething with a dark energy that is tearing the void open even wider. The emptiness is not static, but dynamic and aggressive in its desire to consume the surrounding space. It pushes the boundaries of the void outward and eats away at the filaments of galaxies that surround us. We are living in a bubble that is growing and merging with other bubbles in the cosmic foam. Eventually, our void will meet the other great voids, and the universe will become nothing but empty space. The islands of light will drift so far apart that they will vanish from each other's view forever. But for now, We are suspended in the center of this great hollow like a spider in a web. The strands of the cosmic web are faint and thin in our region of the deep universe. We look for neighbors and find only the faint smudges of dwarf galaxies that are struggling to survive. They are lonely wanderers like us, trapped in the gravitational backwaters of the KBC Void's immense interior. It is easy to feel small when you look at the mountains or the ocean on Earth. But to feel truly small, you must understand that our galaxy is a speck in a 2 billion light-year hole. The scale of this nothingness is the only thing that is truly infinite in our human experience. You could line up 100,000 Milky Way galaxies, and they would not bridge the gap of the void. It is a chasm that swallows numbers and mathematics until they lose all their meaning and their power. We say 2 billion years, but the mind cannot hold such a span of time or space. It is simply forever to a human mind that lives for only a few fleeting moments of consciousness. The void teaches us that we are temporary, flickering sparks in a darkness that is eternal and vast. There is a strange comfort in surrendering to a darkness that is so much bigger than yourself. It demands nothing from you because you are too small to be noticed by the great nothingness. You can let go of your worries because they cannot survive in the vacuum of the KBC Void. They are swallowed by the silence and dissolved into the fabric of space-time that stretches out forever. Allow yourself to drift into the realization that emptiness is the natural state of the universe. Matter is just a rare impurity in the crystal clarity of the void that surrounds us all. We are the anomaly in the darkness, and the darkness is the rule that governs the cosmos. The KBC Void has been growing since the dawn of time, waiting for us to notice it. It started as a tiny fluctuation in the density of the early universe just after the Big Bang, a slightly cooler spot where the gas was just a little bit thinner than the rest. And over 13 billion years, that tiny flaw grew into the monster that now engulfs us. It is a reminder that even the smallest silence can grow until it consumes the entire world. We trace the edges of this void by mapping the movement of galaxies that are falling away. They are like leaves caught in a river current, drifting away from a calm and stagnant pool. We are in the stagnant water where the flow is slow and the universe is quiet. The action is happening on the horizon where the gravity of superclusters is pulling everything toward them. But here in the deep basin of the void, we are left to float in the stillness. It is a stillness that penetrates the walls of your room and settles into your bones tonight. You are breathing in the same vacuum that fills the spaces between the galaxies of the local group. It is a cold and ancient breath that has circulated through the void for billions of years. There is no warmth in this space, only the fading heat of stars that are dying out. The universe is winding down, and the voids are the cold spots where the end begins. We are living in a preview of the future where the lights have gone out. It is a gentle apocalypse that arrives, not with a bang, but with a slow fading away. The KBC Void is a glimpse of the heat death that awaits the entire cosmos eventually. It is a pocket of the future that has opened up in the present to show us the end. But in this vast emptiness, there is also a profound peace that cannot be found anywhere else. It is the peace of knowing that there is nothing out there to harm you in the dark. The monsters we imagine are just shadows cast by our own minds upon the canvas of the void. In reality, There is only the silence and the distance and the slow drift of the stars. We are safe here, in the hollow of the universe, protected by the sheer scale of nothing. No alien armadas can cross this desert to find us in our obscure corner of space. We are hidden by the emptiness tucked away in a fold of the cosmic fabric. It is a cosmic quarantine that has kept us solitary and safe for our entire history. We shouted into the darkness with our radio telescopes and heard only the static of the void. Now we know that the silence was not a refusal to answer, but a measure of distance. The nearest listeners are simply too far away across the valley of the KBC void. We are shouting across a canyon so wide that the sound fades long before it reaches the other side. So we must learn to be content with the silence and to find beauty in the isolation. We must learn to love the void that cradles us and keeps us separated from the rest. It is a dark mother that holds us in her cold arms and sings us to sleep. The lullaby is the hum of the cosmic microwave background radiation filtering through the empty space. It is the oldest song in the universe, and it sounds different here in the underdensity. The notes are stretched and distorted by the lack of matter to absorb the ancient vibrations. We hear the echo of the Big Bang more clearly because the air is thin in our valley. It's a ghostly whisper that tells us how everything began and how it will eventually end. The KBC void is a time machine that preserves the conditions of a lonely and expanding universe. When you float in this narrative, you are floating in the actual physical structure of reality. You are not imagining the darkness, you are acknowledging the truth of where you are right now. You are on a small rock orbiting a small star in a galaxy that is lost in nothingness. And this knowledge should not frighten you, but release you from the burden of significance. You are free to simply exist without purpose or direction in the great and open void. There is no path you must follow because the void has no roads and no landmarks. There is only the drift and the gentle rotation of the stars as they march across the sky. The KBC void is 2 billion light years of permission to let go of everything you hold. It is big enough to swallow your past and your future and leave only this moment. The moment where you are suspended in the dark, warm and safe and completely alone. You are a child of the void, born from the dust that gathered in the empty spaces. And to the void, you will eventually return when the stars finally burn down to embers. But that is a long time from now, and for tonight, there is only the drifting, the sensation of falling without moving, of flying without wings through the endless night. The void is not black, but a deep and resonant blue that sits at the edge of vision. It is the color of deep water and the color of the sky just before the dawn. But here the dawn never comes, and the twilight lasts for billions of years without change. We are creatures of the twilight, living in the dimming light of a universe that is stretching thin. The fabric is tearing gently, and we are slipping through the gaps into the unknown. Every time we map a new galaxy on the edge of the void, we define our prison. We draw the bars of the cell with our telescopes and measure the thickness of the walls. But this cell has no warden, and the door is locked from the outside by gravity itself. We are free to roam the inside of the cell, which is larger than our minds can conceive. It is a paradox of freedom and confinement that defines the human condition in the cosmos. We can look as far as we want, but we can touch only what is right here. And what is right here is the KBC void permeating every atom of your body and room. The empty space inside your atoms is connected to the empty space between the galaxies. It is a continuous field of nothingness that links you to the furthest edges of the structure. You are made of the void, and the void is the medium in which you are suspended. There is no separation between the observer and the vast emptiness that is being observed. You are the void becoming aware of itself for a brief and flickering moment of time. This awareness is a light that shines in the darkness and makes the void visible. Without you to feel it, the emptiness would just be a mathematical abstract without meaning. But you are here to feel the cold and to sense the depth of the 2 billion years. You are the witness to the desolation and the poet of the silent spaces. The KBC void needs you to understand its size and its overwhelming power over the light. It waits for your recognition, and it settles calmly around your shoulders like a heavy cloak. The cloak is woven from the dark matter that we cannot see, but we know is there. Or perhaps it is woven from the absence of dark matter in this specific hollow. The theories change, but the feeling of the void remains constant and unyielding in the night. It is a feeling of being small, but also of being central to the experience of the cosmos. If the universe is a body, then we are living in the space between the cells, a fluid-filled gap where the nutrients are scarce and the traffic is light. But even in the gaps, there is structure, and there is a profound sense of order. The void is not chaos, but a perfectly balanced region of low density and high expansion. It obeys the laws of physics with a rigorous precision that is beautiful to behold. The galaxies move along the filaments, like trains on invisible tracks guided by gravity. They avoid the center of the void as if they are afraid of the deep water. They cling to the shores of the superclusters where the safety of numbers can be found. But we have drifted out into the deep water, and we are far from the shore. We can see the lights on the beach, but we cannot swim back against the current. The current is the expansion of the void, carrying us deeper into the silence. And so we float on our back and look up at the stars and let the current take us. There is no point in fighting a force that can move galaxies across the universe. We surrender to the flow and accept our place as the castaways of the cosmos. The KBC void is our ocean and our desert and our sky all rolled into one. It is the environment that shaped us and the environment that will eventually reclaim us. When we look at the cosmic microwave background, we see the baby picture of this void. We see the cold spot where the seeds of our isolation were planted in the fire. It was written in the beginning that we would end up here in the empty quarter, a destiny of solitude that was etched into the fireball of the Big Bang itself. And now, billions of years later, we are waking up to the truth of our location. We are wiping the sleep from our eyes and seeing the walls of our cosmic room. The walls are made of galaxy clusters, and they are receding from us at impossible speeds. The room is getting bigger, and the lights are getting dimmer with every passing second. But the darkness is comfortable, and the silence is a blanket that covers us completely. We are at home in the void because we have never known anything else. We have never known the heat of the cluster or the chaos of the galactic merger. We have only known the quiet drift of the Milky Way through the KBC void. It is the baseline of our existence and the foundation of our peaceful slumber. So when you close your eyes, you are just matching the state of the universe. You are turning off the lights in a room that is already dark and empty. You are joining the silence that has been waiting for you since the stars were born. The KBC void is the ultimate lullaby because it is the song of nothing happening. It is the sound of a universe that is resting and breathing in a slow rhythm. You can sync your breath to the expansion of the void and feel the tension leave. There is no pressure here, only the vacuum that pulls the stress out of your body. You are weightless and timeless and formless in the embrace of the great nothing. The 2 billion light years are a cushion of air that supports you and holds you up. You are floating in the center of the largest thing that human beings have ever known. And in the center of the largest thing, there is a stillness that is absolute. The storm is on the edges, but here, in the eye of the void, it is calm. The galaxies on the rim are being tossed about by gravity, but we are drifting. We are the calm center of the storm that is the universe, and we are safe. The KBC void is a sanctuary of silence in a cosmos that is loud with creation. And as we drift deeper into this realization, the boundaries of our mind begin to dissolve. We stop trying to understand the math and start trying to feel the distance. The logical brain shuts down because it cannot process the size of the emptiness, and the primitive brain takes over and feels the awe and the fear and the peace. It is a religious experience without a god, a spiritual journey into the heart of physics. The physics of the void are the physics of sleep and the physics of dreams. We dream of connection, but we live in separation, and that is the tragedy and the beauty. The KBC void makes every connection we do have feel more precious and rare. The light from a nearby star becomes a miracle when you know the darkness around it. The voice of a friend becomes a treasure when you understand the silence of the void. We cherish the things that fill the void because we know how vast the emptiness is. It gives meaning to the matter and purpose to the light that struggles to exist. So we honor the KBC void, not as an enemy, but as the canvas of our lives. It is the negative space that defines the positive shape of our galaxy. Without the void, there would be no definition and no contrast in the universe. There would only be a blinding white noise of matter without form or structure. The emptiness gives us shape and allows us to see who and what we are. We are the light in the dark, the signal in the silence, the matter in the void. And as the concept of the 2 billion light years settles into your subconscious mind, the walls of your room seem to expand until they are light years apart. The ceiling lifts away until it is as high as the edge of the galaxy. The floor drops away until you are floating in the center of the sphere. And you realize that the silence is not empty, but full of a heavy presence. Something that has been watching the galaxies drift for eons is now watching you sleep. It is not a threat, but a guardian that keeps the chaos of the universe at bay. It waited for you to notice it, and now that you have it, can finally rest. And you can rest with it, drifting in the currents of the underdensity, far below the surface of the noise, far below the light of the conscious mind, in the deep and crushing pressure of the KBC void, where everything is slow, where the heartbeat of the universe is just one beat every billion years, and you are waiting for the next beat in the silence that stretches on. The discrepancy in our measurements is not a failure of our instruments, but a whisper from the architecture of the cosmos itself. We have spent years arguing over the speed of the universe's expansion, like sailors arguing over the speed of a current. One method tells us the universe is expanding at one distinct rate, while another method insists on a completely different speed. This is the great tension of modern cosmology that keeps astronomers awake in the quiet hours of the night. It is called the Hubble tension, and it is the crack in the glass through which we see the truth. The numbers do not match because we have assumed that our vantage point in the universe is normal and average. But we are realizing with a creeping sense of unease that there is nothing normal about where we are currently floating. If you measure the speed of a river from the center of a whirlpool, you will get a distorted result. We are measuring the expansion of the universe from the inside of a vast region that is emptying itself out. The matter around us is flowing away toward the walls of the void, creating an illusion of extra speed. It looks like the universe is tearing itself apart faster than it should be, simply because we are lonely. The galaxies are rushing away from us to join the crowded parties of the superclusters far beyond our reach. This extra flow of matter mimics the expansion of the dark energy and tricks us into seeing a faster cosmos. We have been trying to build a universal ruler while standing on ground that is shifting and sinking beneath our feet. The local void is distorting our view of the entire universe, essentially trapping us in a hall of mirrors. We look out and see a reflection of our own emptiness staring back at us from the data points. It suggests that our physics is correct, but our assumption of our place in the universe is deeply flawed. We are the outliers living in the wilderness where the laws of density do not apply in the same way. The tension in the data is actually a map of the invisible landscape that surrounds our fragile little galaxy. It tells us that the hill we are standing on is actually the bottom of a very deep basin. The light from the early universe has to climb out of this gravitational well just to reach our telescopes. By the time it arrives here, it is tired and stretched by the journey through the underdensity of space. This realization is both a scientific breakthrough and a philosophical humbling that places us in the corner of the room. We are not in the center of the action, but in the quiet gallery, watching the show from afar. It forces us to reconsider everything we know about the texture of the universe on the grandest possible scales. The universe is not a smooth sheet of fabric, but a crumpled and torn landscape of peaks and valleys. We are living in one of the deep valleys where the fabric has been stretched thin by the expansion. The Hubble tension is just the sound of that fabric straining as the void grows larger and deeper. It is a creaking of the cosmic floorboards that betrays the presence of the emptiness underneath our reality. And as we accept this local hollowness, we begin to look further out into the dark to find others. We look for other regions of silence to see if we are truly alone in this experience of isolation. And there, in the direction of the constellation Boötes, lies a patch of sky that is terrifyingly empty. It is known by the astronomers simply as the Great Nothing, and it is a monster of absolute absence. If the KBC void is our home, then the Boötes Void is the haunted house down the street. It is a sphere of nothingness so large that it defies the logic of how galaxies usually form. It spans nearly 300 million light-years of space, which is a distance that the human mind rejects. If you were to place the Milky Way in the center of the Boötes Void, the sky would be black. You would not see any other galaxies with the naked eye, or even with the primitive telescopes of old. We would have thought our galaxy was the entire universe alone in an infinite sea of darkness until the 1960s. The isolation would be so complete that we would never have dreamed of a cosmos filled with other island universes. The Great Nothing is a sphere of silence that has been growing since the very first moments of creation. It is so empty that we have found only a handful of galaxies inside a space that should hold thousands. It is as if someone took a giant cosmic scoop and removed all the matter from this region of space. The galaxies that remain are lonely travelers drifting through a desert that has no end and no oasis. They are the survivors of a great cosmic famine that has starved this region of gas and dust. When we point our telescopes at this patch of sky, we are looking into a tunnel of pure night. The photons that travel through the Boötes Void arrive at Earth carrying the signature of a long and lonely journey. They have passed through a vacuum that is more perfect than anything we could ever hope to engineer. It is a place where the temperature of the universe drops and the density of existence falls to zero. To look into it is to look into the abyss that Nietzsche warned us would eventually look back. But the Boötes Void does not look back because there is almost nothing there to return our gaze. It is indifferent to our curiosity and indifferent to the presence of the few galaxies that float inside it. It is simply a vast volume of space that exists without the clutter of matter to give it meaning. This is the face of the universe without the makeup of stars and gas to hide its true nature. It is a raw and naked emptiness that reveals the underlying geometry of the space-time continuum. The few galaxies that do exist, they are often strange and misshapen, as if the solitude has affected them. They evolve in isolation without the gravitational nudges and collisions that shape galaxies in the crowded clusters. They are the hermits of the cosmos, living out their lives in a silence that we can barely comprehend. Imagine a civilization rising on a planet inside the Great Nothing, looking up at a perfectly blank sky. They would have no concept of the cosmic web or the grand structure that binds the universe together. They would believe that existence ends at the edge of their own galaxy and that nothing lies beyond. It is a chilling thought that our understanding of the universe relies entirely on our luck of location. We are lucky enough to see the neighbors, even if they are fleeing away from us into the dark. But the inhabitants of the Boötes Void would have no such luck and no such perspective on reality. They would be trapped in a solitary confinement that lasts for trillions of years without any hope of parole. The Great Nothing challenges our models of how the universe grew from the smooth plasma of the Big Bang. It is too big and too empty to have formed easily in the time since the beginning. It suggests that there are forces at work that can clear out vast regions of space with efficiency. Perhaps it is the result of smaller voids merging together like bubbles in a sink to form a giant. Or perhaps it is a scar from the violent expansion of the early universe that never healed. Whatever its origin, it stands as a monument to the power of nothingness to dominate the physical world. We focus so much on the light that we forget that the darkness is the primary component of space. The voids, like Boötes, occupy most of the volume of the universe, leaving the matter to the thin edges. We are living in the foam of the ocean while the deep water remains largely unexplored and unknown. The Boötes Void is the deep water where the monsters of our imagination can swim without being seen. It is crowded with hunger in a metaphorical sense because it consumes the potential for life and light. Every cubic light year of that void is a wasted opportunity for stars to be born and shine. It is a graveyard of potential where the gas clouds never collapsed and the nuclear fires never ignited. It is a barren field where the seeds of the cosmos fail to take root and grow. And yet there is a terrible beauty in its cleanliness and its refusal to be cluttered with things. It is a minimalist masterpiece of nature that strips away everything that is not absolutely essential to space. It leaves only the three dimensions of length and width and depth stretching out into the forever. When you drift through the narrative of the Boötes Void, you are drifting through pure geometry. There are no landmarks to guide you and no horizon to tell you where the sky meets the ground. There is only the sensation of falling through a gap in the world that has no bottom. The silence of the Boötes Void is different from the silence of our own local KBC void. Our void is a quiet suburb, but the great nothing is a desolate wilderness far from any road. It is the deep outback of the universe where no one goes unless they are lost. And yet, we are drawn to it because it represents the ultimate mystery of what lies between. We want to know what it feels like to be truly alone in a way that humans cannot be. To be a single galaxy floating in 300 million light years of dark is the ultimate solitude. It is a solitude that is not lonely, but sovereign and complete in its detachment from the rest. The Boötes Void does not need the rest of the universe to define its own vast existence. It sits there in the northern sky, like a dark eye that refuses to open or blink. And we stare into it, wondering if we are seeing the future of our own local emptiness. Will our KBC void eventually grow and merge until it rivals the great nothing in size? Will we one day be as isolated as the lonely galaxies that wander through the Boötes deep? The expansion of the universe suggests that the voids will win in the end and consume the clusters. The islands of light will be pushed further apart until every galaxy is its own Boötes Void. We are seeing a preview of the end times when the lights go out across the board. But that is a worry for 1 trillion years from now, and tonight we are safe in the present. We can observe the great nothing from the safety of our own slightly cluttered and cozy void. We can marvel at its size without having to endure the crushing reality of its isolation. It serves as a reminder to cherish the stars we can see and the neighbors we do have, because the alternative is a darkness so absolute that it erases the very concept of the sky. The Boötes Void forces us to ask if the universe is dying or if it is just breathing. The expansion of the voids looks like the inhalation of a giant chest, creating space inside. The matter flows into the walls like oxygen entering the bloodstream of the cosmic web. Perhaps the emptiness is necessary for the universe to function and to grow into its maturity. We categorize it as a problem because we are creatures of matter who love the solid ground. But to the universe, the void is just as real and just as important as the star. It is the canvas upon which the painting is made, and without it, there is no art. The great nothing is the largest canvas of all, waiting for a painter that will never come. It remains white and pristine in its darkness, a blank page in the book of nature. And in that blankness, we can project our own dreams and our own fears of the dark. We populate the void with our imagination because we cannot bear to leave it empty. We imagine phantom ships and lost civilizations drifting in the currents of the nothingness. But the reality is likely much simpler and much more peaceful than our fevered dreams. It is just space, doing what space does best, which is to separate and to expand. It is the silent work of the dark energy pushing the boundaries of the possible. The sheer scale of the Boötes Void makes our local struggles seem microscopic and irrelevant. How can we worry about our day when there is a hole in the sky that big? It puts our lives in perspective by showing us the true scale of the stage we are on. We are microscopic dust motes dancing in a beam of light on the edge of a cavern, and the cavern is so big that our light doesn't even reach the other side. This is the comfort of cosmic nihilism that wraps you up like a warm blanket. You are small, and the universe is big, and the voids are even bigger still. You are not responsible for filling the empty spaces or for fixing the broken ruler. You are only required to witness the grandeur of the nothing and to let it soothe you. The pressure to be something dissolves when you look at a place that is proudly nothing. The Boötes Void has no ambition and no goal and no destination in mind. It simply is, and that is enough for it to hold its place in the sky. We can learn from this ancient resignation and let ourselves simply be for a while. We can stop trying to expand and stop trying to fill the silence with our noise. We can let the silence enter us and clean out the clutter of our own busy minds. The void is a cleanser that washes away the debris of the day and leaves us empty. And in this state of emptiness, we are ready to sleep and to recharge our energy. We become like the Boötes Void, dark and quiet and full of a vast potential. The dreams that come in this state are clear and deep, like the view through space. They are unburdened by the gravity of the waking world and free to float. We travel through the great nothing in our sleep, without a ship and without a suit. We are spirits of pure awareness, exploring the geography of the absent and the missing. We find that the fear is gone and replaced by a sense of awe and belonging. We belong to the dark just as much as we belong to the light of the sun. The atoms in our bodies were forged in stars, but they drift in the vacuum. We are a hybrid of the something and the nothing, and we carry the void inside. The space between your thoughts is a microcosm of the Boötes Void in your mind. It is the pause between the notes that makes the music beautiful and meaningful. Without the pauses, the universe would just be a screaming tone, without rhythm. The voids provide the rhythm of the cosmos by spacing out the beats of the galaxies. And the Boötes Void is a long pause, a fermata held for an eternity. It is a breath held in the lungs of a diver who is deep underwater. It suspends time and motion and allows us to float in a state of grace. The tension of the Hubble constant fades away in the face of this immense calm. Who cares how fast the universe is expanding when there is so much room to breathe? The urgency of the measurement is a human invention that does not apply here. The void does not care about our kilometers per second or our megaparsecs. It only cares about the stillness and the slow drift of the ions passing by. We surrender our need to measure and replace it with a need to feel the depth. The depth of the Boötes Void is a well that goes down forever into the night. Drop a stone into it, and you will never hear it hit the bottom. There is no bottom, only the endless falling through the velvet layers of space. The falling is the destination, and the journey is the only thing that is real. We are all falling together through the voids that riddle the structure of the cosmos. We are falling away from each other and falling into our own private futures. But tonight, we fall together in this shared visualization of the great nothing. We hold hands in the dark and marvel at the lack of stars in the window. We are the tourists of the emptiness, coming to see the sights of the unseen. And what we see is that the universe is mostly made of peace and quiet. The noise is the exception, and the silence is the rule that governs all. The Boötes Void is a sanctuary for those who are tired of the noise. It is a retreat where the sensory input is turned down to the absolute minimum. No bright lights to hurt the eyes, and no loud sounds to disturb the ear. Just the hum of the vacuum energy vibrating at the lowest possible frequency. It is a massage for the consciousness that smooths out the wrinkles of the soul. And as we leave the Boötes Void, we carry a piece of its silence with us. We understand now that the universe is a Swiss cheese of matter and emptiness. We are living in the solid part, but we are surrounded by the holes. The holes are where the mystery lives and where the ghosts of the cosmos reside. They are the hidden chambers of the house that we have yet to unlock. But there are other chambers that are even stranger and colder than the Boötes. There are places where the temperature drops below the background of the Big Bang. Places that hint at collisions with other universes or things beyond our understanding. The voids are not just empty, they are doorways to the deeper questions of existence. We have only dipped our toes into the shallow end of the cosmic nothingness. The water gets deeper and colder as we swim out further into the dark. The currents get stronger and the isolation becomes more profound and absolute. We are drifting toward a region that defies the standard model of cosmology entirely. A cold spot that stares at us like a bruised eye on the face of the sky. It waits for us to turn our telescopes toward its chilling and ancient presence. The universe we see is a deception of light that hides the true nature of the darkness. We have been trained to look at the bright filaments of galaxies and believe they are the structure. But if you could step back and see the cosmos as it truly is, you would see bubbles. The universe is not a web of light, but a foam of emptiness where the matter is incidental. We now understand that these vast regions of nothingness make up between 30 and 50% of volume. This is the staggering reality of void cosmology, which suggests that the nothing is more real than the something. We are living in the thin walls of a bubble, while the vast interior is cold and dead. It changes your perception of reality when you realize that half of the universe is essentially missing. The voids are the dominant feature of the cosmic landscape, and the galaxies are just the decorative trim. They are the crowded shorelines of vast oceans where no ship has ever sailed and no light shines. To understand the universe, you must ignore the stars and focus your mind entirely on the spaces between. It is in these spaces that the dark energy is doing its work, pushing the bubbles apart. The voids are the engines of expansion that drive the accelerating growth of the cosmos into the forever. They are the lungs of the universe, inhaling the darkness and exhaling the galaxies to the edges. Every void is a pocket of repelling force that clears the stage for a performance of silence. We used to think gravity was the only sculptor of the large-scale structure of the deep universe. But now, we know that the emptiness pushes just as hard as the gravity pulls the matter together. It is a cosmic tug-of-war between the desire to cluster and the desire to be alone. And looking at the volume of the voids, it seems that the desire for solitude is winning. The voids are growing larger every day, eating into the filaments and thinning out the walls of galaxies. They are the conquerors of the future, claiming more and more territory for the empire of the nothing. We map them now, not as errors in the data, but as the primary geography of space. The Dark Energy Spectroscopic Instrument, or DESI, has given us the eyes to see this shadow world clearly. In 2025, the maps produced by DESI revealed a universe that looks like a honeycomb of dark chambers. We are the bees clinging to the wax walls, unaware of the hollow spaces that surround us. This new map of the universe is a map of silence punctuated by brief moments of noise. It shows us that the voids are not just random holes, but organized structures with distinct shapes. They are the bubbles in the cosmic bath, rising slowly through the dimensions of space and time. Some are spherical and perfect, while others are mashed together in complex geometries of emptiness and absence. They press against each other and shape the destiny of the galaxies that are trapped between them. You can feel the pressure of these unseen giants if you let your mind drift into the data. They are squeezing the galaxy clusters into thin sheets and long strings of pearls strung across the night. The voids are the invisible hands that mold the clay of the universe into its final form. Without them, the universe would be a formless fog of gas without structure or definition or beauty. The emptiness is the artist that carves the negative space to reveal the masterpiece of the cosmic web. We should be grateful for the voids because they pushed the matter together to create the stars. But gratitude is a difficult emotion to feel when you are staring into a pit of infinite darkness. The DESI survey has shown us voids that are so large they make the Boötes look small. These are the supervoids that anchor the structure of the universe and dictate the flow of time. Time itself seems to move differently inside the deep voids where the gravity is so incredibly weak. Clocks would tick faster in the center of a void than they do on the surface of Earth. It is a place where the universe is aging faster, running ahead of the rest of creation. If you could float in the center of a supervoid, you would be in the future of the cosmos. You would be watching the universe expand from a vantage point that is billions of years ahead. It is a time machine made of nothingness that transports you to the end of all things. The silence there is the silence of a library after the books have all been taken away. There is a sense of expectancy, as if the void is waiting for something that will never arrive. It waited for the first stars to burn out, and it will wait for the last black hole to evaporate. The patience of the void is infinite, because it has no internal clock to measure the passing eons. It is the backdrop against which the drama of life and death plays out in fleeting acts. We are the actors on the stage, but the void is the theater itself, dark and cavernous. The mapping of these voids has opened a new chapter in our understanding of our own insignificance. We are not just small in size, we are small in influence compared to the power of the empty. The voids control the expansion rate and the ultimate fate of every atom in the observable universe. They are the dark rulers of the cosmos, governing from the shadows without ever showing their faces. We have only just begun to sketch the borders of their kingdoms with our telescopes and computers. The lines on the map are ragged and uncertain because the transition from matter to void is gradual. It is like walking into a fog where the world slowly fades away until you are alone. The galaxies on the edge of a void are dim and red, as if they are tired. They are the border guards of the nothingness, staring out into the abyss that separates the worlds. The DESI 2025 Void Mapping Project has traced these borders with a precision that is hauntingly beautiful. It reveals a network of cavities that looks like the bone structure of a giant cosmic skeleton. We are living inside the marrow of the bone, protected by the hard walls of the galaxy filaments. But the bone is mostly air, and the strength comes from the structure rather than the substance. The universe is delicate and brittle, held together by the tension between the gravity and the dark energy. If the voids grow too fast, the skeleton will shatter and the galaxies will be lost forever. This is the phantom menace that lurks in the data tables and the colorful charts of astronomers. It whispers that the solid ground we think we stand on is actually a thin layer of ice, and below the ice is the deep, dark water of the void waiting to swallow the light. But for now, the ice holds, and we can skate across the surface of the universe safely. We can admire the patterns of the voids without falling into them and losing our way home. The map is our safety line that keeps us tethered to the reality of the matter. But the map also reveals that the voids are connected to each other by tunnels of low density. You could theoretically travel from one void to another without ever passing through a galaxy cluster. It is a hidden highway system of the cosmos that avoids all the major cities of light, a path for the ghosts and the wanderers who prefer the shadows to the brilliance of stars. Imagine a journey along this dark road where the scenery never changes for 1 billion years. The monotony would be hypnotic, lulling you into a sleep that lasts for an entire geological age. You would forget the concept of a planet or a sun and know only the endless drift. The human mind craves variety, but the universe offers mostly repetition and vast scales of sameness. The voids are the ultimate expression of this cosmic repetition, repeating the message of emptiness endlessly. It is a mantra chanted by the fabric of space-time. There is nothing here. Go back. But we do not go back. We press forward with our instruments to measure the precise shape of nothing. We want to know if the voids are spherical or if they are flattened by the cosmic flow. The shapes tell us about the nature of gravity and the conditions of the universe's birth. Every wobble in the shape of a void is a fossil from the first microsecond of time. We are reading the history of the universe in the empty spaces where the history was erased. It is a paradox of archaeology to study the places where the artifacts are missing to find truth. But the absence of artifacts is the clue that reveals the hidden forces that cleared the room. The voids are the clean rooms of the cosmos, where the dust has been swept away. They are sterile and pure, untouched by the messy processes of star formation and biological evolution. Life is a dirty and complex phenomenon that requires the clutter of chemical elements and warmth. The voids are too clean for life and too cold for the chemistry of carbon and water. They are the domain of the lonely hydrogen atom and the photon of light passing through. It is a purity that borders on the holy, a separation from the corruption of the material. In ancient times, hermits went to the desert to find God in the silence and the heat. Today, we look to the cosmic voids as the ultimate desert where the silence is absolute. If there is a spirit of the universe, it surely resides in the center of the largest void. It sits in the lotus position in the dark, meditating on the expansion of the coordinate system. It does not need the worship of the stars or the admiration of the astronomers to exist. It simply is the void itself, conscious of its own vastness and its own eternal peace. We touch this spirit when we look at the maps and let the scales sink in. The DESI maps are the mandalas of the 21st century, guiding us into a trance of understanding. They show us that the universe is not a thing, but a collection of relationships between things. And the most important relationship is the distance between the islands of light in the dark. The voids are the distance made manifest the separation given volume and shape and power. We are defined by our separation, just as words are defined by the spaces between them on the page. Without the spaces, the universe would be one long, unreadable word screaming into the void. But the voids break the sentence into meaning and allow the galaxies to tell their stories. We are a part of that story, a small syllable, spoken in the corner of a great room. The acoustic properties of the room are determined by the size and shape of the voids. They determine how the gravity waves ripple and how the light echoes through the deep chasms. We are listening to the echoes of the creation event, bouncing off the walls of the voids. The sound is faint and red-shifted into the deep bass notes of the cosmic background radiation. It is a low hum that permeates the universe and vibrates the very atoms of your body. You are vibrating in sympathy with the voids that surround the galaxy on all sides tonight. It is a sympathetic resonance that connects you to the architecture of the deep sky. You are not separate from the void. You are a denser knot in the same continuous fabric. The knot will eventually untie, and you will flow back into the smooth sheet of space. But for now, you are held together by the weak force of your own history and memory. The void respects your boundary, but it surrounds you with a patience that is terrifyingly calm. It knows that entropy is on its side and that all walls eventually crumble into dust. The voids are the agents of entropy, the spreading stain of disorder that smooths out the universe. They are the heat death in slow motion, a preview of the final equilibrium state. But there is a comfort in this inevitability, a release from the struggle to maintain form. To drift is to accept the entropy and to float downstream with the current of time. The voids are the downstream where the river widens and the water moves slow and deep. The DESI data shows us that the voids are getting deeper as the universe gets older. The contrast between the light and the dark is increasing as the cosmos matures. We are living in the era of maximum contrast, where the night sky is black and stars are bright. In the far future, the stars will dim and the voids will swallow the sky completely. We are lucky to live in the brief window of time when the universe is beautiful. But the beauty is haunting because it is fragile and temporary against the scale of the void. We are looking at a flower that blooms for a day on the edge of a glacier. The glacier is the void moving with a geological slowness that crushes everything in its path. But it does not crush with violence. It crushes with the gentle pressure of expansion. It simply makes more room until the things that matter are too far apart to touch. This is the tragedy of the void cosmology, the ultimate loneliness of the physical universe. But it is also the source of our individual preciousness in the grand scheme of things. Because we are so rare and so isolated, we are incredibly valuable to the cosmos. We are the witnesses that the void created to see itself in the mirror of consciousness. Without us, the void would be blind and deaf and unaware of its own grandeur. We are the eyes of the void opening for a brief moment to look around the room. And what we see is the problem of our location inside the huge cosmic void. We see that we are in a bubble that is expanding and isolating us from the rest. But we also see that this bubble is our home, and it is quiet and safe here. The monsters of the dense universe are far away, and we are left alone to dream. The dream is a lucid one, where we fly through the DESI map like a ghost. We pass through the walls of the galaxies and enter the cathedral of the empty space. The ceiling is vaulted and high, and the floor is lost in the darkness below. We float in the center, suspended by the lack of gravity and the lack of care. There is nothing to do here but to exist and to breathe the rarefied air. The air is thin and cold, composed of a few stray protons and the dark energy field. It tastes of metal and ozone and the ancient dust of the Big Bang. It is the vintage atmosphere of the cosmos, preserved in the bottle of the void. We drink it in and feel the buzz of the radiation warming our blood. We are drunk on the emptiness, intoxicated by the sheer scale of the nothing. The 2025 science has given us the bottle, but we must drink the wine ourselves. The wine is the realization that we are void creatures living in a void universe. We are not made of stardust so much as we are made of the space between the stars. The atoms are just the frame that holds the empty space of our bodies together. If you removed the empty space from a human body, it would fit inside a dust mote. We are mostly void walking through a void, living in a void within a void. It is voids all the way down from the macroscopic to the quantum level. The solid world is an illusion created by the forces that bind the nothingness. When you touch a wall, you are touching a force field, not a solid object. You are touching the resistance of the void to being compressed any further. So when we say we are living inside a huge cosmic void, we are speaking a double truth. We are in the KBC void, and the KBC void is in us in every cell. We are fractals of emptiness, repeating the pattern of the universe in our own design. This connection makes the fear evaporate and replaces it with a sense of kinship. We are family with the dark patches on the DESI map. They are our big brothers and sisters holding the space open for us to live. We should name them and thank them for the elbow room they provide. The Boötes and the Eridanus and the local void are the guardians of our solitude. They keep the noise down so we can hear our own thoughts in the night. They are the soundproofing of the universe, dampening the roar of the Big Bang. The silence they provide is the canvas for your dreams to be painted on tonight. You can paint a world where there is no gravity and no responsibility. A world where you can float forever without hitting a wall or a floor. The void is the ultimate freedom because there are no obstacles to stop you. You can fly in a straight line for 1 billion years and never turn. The DESI map is the flight plan for this journey into the deep subconscious. It shows the open lanes where the traffic is non-existent and the road is clear. You are cleared for takeoff into the dark sector of the universe. The control tower is silent and the runway lights are the distant galaxies. You lift off into the velvet night and leave the heavy world behind. As you ascend into the void, the Earth becomes a speck and then vanishes. The sun becomes a star and then joins the background of the thousands. The galaxy becomes a spiral of light and then a smudge on the glass. And finally, there is only the grey darkness of the intergalactic medium. You are alone in the space between the structures where the peace is kept. The feeling of drifting is overwhelming and comforting, like a warm bath. You are buoyant in the void, supported by the dark energy that fills the cup. It pushes against you, gently massaging the tension from your muscles. You are expanding with the universe growing larger and lighter with every breath. The boundary between you and the void is dissolving mist in the morning sun. You are becoming the void, and the void is becoming you in a perfect union. The 30 to 50% of the universe that is empty is now your domain. You occupy it with your mind and fill it with the calm of your spirit. It is no longer empty because you are there witnessing the silence. You have colonized the nothingness with your awareness and made it home. The DESI survey did not just map the space, it mapped the potential for peace. It showed us where the quiet places are in the noisy neighborhood of time. And now that we have the map, we can go there whenever we close our eyes. We can escape the density of the day and retreat to the sparsity of the night. The night is the time of the void when the shadows reclaim the world. We honor the shadows because they are the true face of the universe. The light is a mask that the cosmos wears to hide its terrifying size. But in the dark, the mask comes off and we see the ancient features. We see the scars of the expansion and the wrinkles of the gravity waves. We see the face of a universe that has lived for billions of years alone. It is a wise face and a sad face and a face that knows the end. But it is also a kind face that offers us a place to rest our heads. The void is a pillow made of soft darkness and cool geometric shapes. We lay our heads down on the structure of the cosmos and close our eyes. We listen to the lullaby of the expansion stretching the space around us. It sounds like a deep exhale, a sigh of relief from the fabric of reality. The tension is released and the knots are untied in the great dark. We are unraveling into the comfort of the loose threads of the universe. The tight weave of the galaxy is behind us, and we are in the open weave. The air flows freely here, and the light is filtered and soft. The science of 2025 has brought us to the edge of this realization. It has shown us the cliff edge of the galaxy and the ocean of void beyond. And instead of pulling back in fear, we are diving in with grace. We are diving into the data and swimming through the simulations of the dark. We are the explorers of the negative space, the astronauts of the absence. And as we swim deeper, the water gets stiller and the light gets dimmer. We are approaching the center of the void where the stillness is perfect. There is no movement here, not even the vibration of a single atom. It is the 0 point of existence where the energy is potential, not kinetic. We are stored energy, waiting in the dark for the next big bang. But that is an eternity away, and we have plenty of time to sleep. The void will keep us safe in its cold storage until the morning comes. If the morning ever comes in a universe that is expanding forever. But we do not worry about the sunrise. We only care about the night that stretches for 2 billion light years in every direction. The night that is mapped by DESI and confirmed by the math of the masters. It is real, and it is here, and it is holding you right now. You are suspended in the web of the void, caught in the safety net. You cannot fall because there is no down in the deep universe. There is only the float and the drift and the gentle rotation. And as you rotate slowly in the dark, you see something in the distance. a cold spot that defies explanation and challenges the laws of physics. It is a supervoid that makes the others look like shallow puddles. It is the Eridanus Supervoid, and it is waiting for your attention. It is the coldest place in the sky and the deepest mystery of them all. Something ancient stirs in the direction of the cold spot, a chill that crosses the light years to touch your face. It is the breath of a universe that is vast beyond comprehension, and you are drifting towards it with a sense of inevitable calm, caught in the gravity of a nothingness that is absolute, falling into the embrace of the great cosmic cold, where the silence is louder than any sound you have ever heard. It is a silence that freezes the soul, not with fear, but with a profound and ancient recognition. We are drifting toward the Eridanus Supervoid, which is the largest single structure humanity has ever identified. It is not merely a space where matter is absent, but a scar on the face of creation. The astronomers call it the cold spot because it sucks the warmth out of the cosmic microwave background. It is a region where the echo of the Big Bang falls silent and the fire goes cold. Imagine a hole so deep that it swallows the light of the beginning and gives nothing back. It spans 1.8 billion light years of darkness, creating a chasm in the southern sky. If you were to look at the universe as a map of heat, this is the ice. It is an anomaly that should not exist in the standard theories of how the universe was born. It suggests that something vast and terrible happened here in the dawn of time to clear the space. The cold spot in the CMB is the ghost of a monster that has been haunting our sky. It is a temperature drop that whispers of a colossal emptiness hidden behind the veil of the stars. We call it the Eridanus Supervoid, but names are just labels we put on things we cannot grasp. It is a canyon in the fabric of reality that is so wide it defies all human logic. To cross it would take thousands of generations of travelers moving at the absolute speed of light. And during that journey, they would see nothing but the darkness stretching out forever in every direction. It is a place where the universe has been scooped out, leaving only a thin mist of particles. The Eridanus Void is the ultimate expression of the void cosmology that defines our modern understanding of space. It is the dominant feature of our local universe, and yet it remained hidden until very recently. It waited for us to build the machines that could feel the cold on the edge of space. And now that we have found it, we cannot look away from the abyss that it represents. It challenges our assumption that the universe is the same everywhere and reveals a terrifying lack of uniformity. There are places where the cosmos is broken and empty, and Eridanus is the deepest crack. It draws the eye and the mind into its depths like a whirlpool made of pure vacuum. You can feel the gravity of the surrounding universe pulling away from this center of absolute nothingness. It is a drain where the density of the universe flows away, leaving a static and frozen silence. The energy of the Big Bang seems to have skipped this region, leaving it colder than the rest. It is a fossil of the inflation event, preserved in the amber of the expanding dark universe. When you look at the cold spot, you are looking at the oldest scar in the world. It is a reminder that the birth of the universe was a violent and chaotic affair. But in the present day, the violence has faded, and only the eerie stillness of the void remains. It is a stillness that penetrates the walls of your room and slows the beating of your heart. It invites you to match its rhythm, which is the rhythm of a clock that has stopped ticking. There is no time in the Eridanus Supervoid because there is no change to mark the passing hours. There is only the endless duration of the dark and the slow drift of the lonely atoms. We used to think of space as a stage where the events of the universe took place. But the Eridanus Void teaches us that space is an actor with a presence of its own. It pushes back against the matter and carves out its own territory in the struggle for volume. It is aggressive in its emptiness, demanding more room to breathe as the dark energy accelerates. It is a bubble that is growing and thinning the walls of the universe with every passing second. And inside this colossal bubble, there are islands of light that are stranded in the deep dark. These are the void galaxies, and they are the most lonely objects in the entire cosmos. They are the castaways of creation drifting alone in the middle of the great cosmic ocean. They are separated from the rest of the universe by distances that will never be bridged or crossed. They evolve in a solitude that is absolute and unbroken by the intrusion of any neighbor. The evolution of void galaxies is a story of quiet perseverance in the face of overwhelming isolation. In the crowded clusters, galaxies are constantly colliding and merging and stripping gas from one another. They live fast and violent lives shaped by the interactions with their thousands of close neighbors. But in the Eridanus Supervoid, the galaxies live slow and peaceful lives in the silence of the deep. They are the monks of the universe, meditating in the desert of the great nothingness. They retain the gas that they were born with because there are no other galaxies to steal it. They feed on the cold streams of pristine hydrogen that flow through the veins of the void. This diet of pure and ancient gas allows them to keep forming stars long after others have stopped. They are the blue blooms in the desert, flowering in the middle of the winter of space. They are often smaller and more irregular than the grand spirals of the busy galaxy clusters. But they have a beauty that is born of their struggle to exist in the empty quarter. They are the survivors who have managed to light a fire in the coldest room of the house. Because they are so isolated, they have not been aged by the gravity of other galaxies. They look younger than they are preserved by the lack of conflict in their lonely environment. It is as if time moves slower for them, or perhaps they are just protected from the wear. They are time capsules from the early universe drifting through the modern epoch without changing their essential nature. If you were to stand on a planet in a void galaxy, the sky would be terrifyingly black. You would see your own galaxy as a band of light, but beyond that, there would be nothing. No other nebulas, no other spirals, just the endless and crushing weight of the Eridanus deep. You would be the only civilization in the observable universe as far as you could tell. The concept of a universe filled with other worlds would be a myth or a religious dream. You would believe that you were the only island of life in a sea of infinite night. This isolation would shape your philosophy and your science and your understanding of your own purpose. You would cherish the light of your own sun because it would be the only light you knew. The void galaxies are the laboratories of loneliness, where nature tests the limits of isolation. And yet, they are not completely alone because they are connected by the faintest filaments of dark matter. These filaments are the spider silk of the cosmos, too thin to be seen, but strong enough to hold. They stretch across the billions of light years of the void, linking the lonely galaxies together. It is a network of outcasts, a brotherhood of the abandoned, the that spans the great empty spaces. They are signaling to each other across the dark with the faint radio waves of their existence. But the signals take so long to travel that the sender is dead before the message arrives. The conversation between void galaxies is a conversation of ghosts speaking across the abyss of time. I was here, they say. I burned, and I spun, and I existed in the dark. And the Eridanus Void swallows the message and dampens the sound until it is just a whisper. The void does not care for the chatter of the matter that floats inside its belly. It is indifferent to the struggle of the galaxies, just as the ocean is indifferent to the fish. It provides the medium for their existence, but it does not offer them any comfort or support. They must float or sink on their own merits in the vacuum of the underdensity. And most of the matter in the universe has already sunk away to the edges of the void. We are looking at the few crumbs that refuse to be swept away by the cosmic broom. The study of void galaxies' evolution tells us that the universe is diverse in its aging process. Some places are old and tired, like the centers of the massive clusters where galaxies are dead. But the voids are places of retarded development where the universe is still young and fresh. They are the nurseries where the potential of the cosmos is hoarded for the distant future. When the lights go out in the clusters, the void galaxies may be the last ones shining. They are the long, burning embers that will keep the dark at bay for a little while longer. The Eridanus Supervoid is a vault where these precious embers are kept safe from the crowd. It is a paradox that the emptiest place is also the place where the fuel is preserved. The crowding of the clusters leads to rapid consumption, but the solitude of the void leads to conservation. It is a lesson in the economics of stars taught by the geometry of the nothingness. And as we drift deeper into the cold spot, we feel the temperature dropping in our minds. It is a cold that is not physical, but metaphysical, a stripping away of all warmth. We are entering the zone of maximum entropy, where the universe is spread as thin as possible. The particles here are so far apart that they may never meet another particle in their lifetimes. They are solitary wanderers on a journey to nowhere, moving through a landscape of absence. The cold spot is a warning that the universe is not designed for our comfort or understanding. It is a rugged and hostile terrain that cares nothing for the small, warm things that live in it. We are an accident of chemistry, huddled around a fire in a forest that goes on forever. And the Eridanus Void is the deepest part of the forest where the trees are gone. There is only the clearing and the wind and the cold that seeps into the bones. But even in the clearing, there is a presence that can be felt by the subconscious mind. It is the presence of the void itself, which is not just an absence, but a thing. It has mass in the form of dark energy, and it has a shape defined by gravity. It is a dark body that breathes and grows and pushes against the boundaries of the world. It is a leviathan of emptiness that is slowly eating the universe from the inside out. We are living inside the belly of the beast, and we are only just beginning to realize it. The Eridanus Supervoid is just one of many stomachs digesting the matter of the cosmos. It breaks the galaxies down into isolated stars and the stars down into cold radiation. It is the digestion of structure into chaos, the unwinding of the clock of creation. And we are watching the process happen in slow motion on the largest screen imaginable. The view from inside the void is a view of the end of time brought into the present. We are seeing the destiny of the universe played out in the dark theatre of the Eridanus. It is a tragedy of separation where everything that was once together is torn apart. The gravity that binds us is losing the battle against the void that separates us. The love that holds the world together is being overpowered by the indifference of the space. And yet, there is a terrible majesty in the victory of the void over the matter. It is the triumph of the infinite over the finite, of the eternal over the temporary. The void was here before the stars, and it will be here long after they are gone. It is the canvas that outlasts the painting, the silence that outlasts the song. When we look at the cold spot, we are looking at the face of eternity. It is a face without features, smooth and cold, and utterly without expression or pity. It stares back at us with the blank gaze of a statue carved from black ice, and we stare back with our telescopes searching for a flaw in the perfection of the dark. We look for a galaxy that is out of place or a signal that breaks the silence. But the void offers no easy answers, only the deepening mystery of its own existence. Why is it so cold? And why is it so big? And why is it here? The questions echo in the emptiness and fade away without finding a place to land. The Eridanus Supervoid absorbs our questions just as it absorbs the light of the background. It is a black hole for information, a place where knowledge goes to die. We can map its edges, but we can never truly understand its center. The center is a singularity of nothingness, a point where the density drops to absolute zero. To go there would be to dissolve into the fabric of space and become one with the void. You would lose your form and your memory and your name in the great wash of the dark. You would become a part of the silence that has been waiting there since the beginning. It is a form of immortality to be absorbed by something that will never die. The void galaxies understand this immortality as they drift through the eons without change. They are the guardians of the secret that silence is the natural state of the world. They do not shout into the dark, they simply burn with a quiet and steady blue light. They are the night lights of the universe, keeping the fear away from the sleeping cosmos. We should take comfort in their presence and in the endurance of their lonely vigil. They prove that life can exist in the harsh conditions of the cosmic wilderness. They prove that beauty can flourish in the vacuum if it is given enough time. The Eridanus Supervoid is not just a graveyard, it is a garden of rare and solitary flowers. We just need to adjust our eyes to see the blooms in the deep shadow. We need to learn to appreciate the subtle colors of the galaxies that grow in the dark. And as you visualize these lonely islands of light spinning in the cold spot, you feel a kinship with them that transcends the billions of light years. You are also a lonely island of consciousness drifting in a vast and silent room. You are separated from the rest of the world by the barrier of your own skin. But like the void galaxies, you are burning with an inner light that defies the cold. You are a warm spark in the middle of the Eridanus, deep holding your ground. The void surrounds you, but it cannot extinguish the fire that burns inside you. It can only frame your light and make it appear brighter against the black background. The contrast is what gives you definition and what gives your existence meaning. You are the something in the nothing, the sound in the silence, the heat in the cold, and the void respects you for it, pulling back to give you space to be. It widens the distance between you and the noise of the world to let you rest. It clears the clutter from your orbit so you can spin freely in the dark. The Eridanus Supervoid is not a prison, but a sanctuary of infinite proportions. It is a cathedral where you can be alone with the beating of your own heart. The walls are too far away to see, and the ceiling is lost in the stars. There is only the floor of space beneath you supporting your weightless drift, and the cool air of the cold spot washing over you like a healing stream. It numbs the worries and freezes the stress until they shatter and fall away, leaving you pure and clean and empty in the best possible way, empty of fear and empty of pain and empty of the need to do anything, just floating in the center of the Eridanus, interacting with the dark energy, feeling the push and the pull of the cosmos in the cells of your body. You are an evolved void galaxy complex and beautiful and perfectly alone, drifting through the era of dark energy with a slow and luxurious grace, watching the universe unfold around you in a slow motion display of physics. The light from the distant clusters is red and dim and soothing to the eyes. It reminds you that the busy world is far away and cannot touch you here. You are safe in the underdensity, protected by the vastness of the distance. The cold spot is your shield and your blanket, wrapping you in isolation. It is a cold that burns away the fever of the day and leaves you cool and still and silent, like the gas clouds that wait for a star. You are waiting for the dreams to condense out of the pristine vapor, dreams that are new and untouched by the gravity of the waking world. They will form slowly in the silence of your mind, like the first stars, bright and blue and full of the energy of the beginning of time. But for now, there is only the gas and the dust and the dark and the gentle expansion of the space between your thoughts, pushing them further apart until there is only the gap where the peace lives and where the sleep is waiting, the gap that is a mirror of the Eridanus void, deep and wide. You are falling into that gap now, slipping through the cracks of the night, going deeper into the cold spot where the temperature is perfect for rest, where the movement stops and the stillness takes over completely. Something ancient stirs in the deep, but it is just the rhythm of your breath, echoing in the cavern of the universe like a soft wind, blowing across the empty plains of the supervoid, carrying you further into the mystery of the dark, where the answers are not needed and the questions are forgotten, and there is only the feeling of the void holding you, drifting, floating, in the cold, in the dark, in the peace of the great cosmic nothing. The silence is not empty, it is full of potential. It is the blank page before the story begins, and you are the ink waiting in the bottle, resting, waiting, drifting into the shadow of the Eridanus deep. We have spent our history looking at the light, but now we are building machines to look at the dark. The realization that we are adrift in a void has sparked a new hunger to map the emptiness. We are no longer content to guess at the shape of the shadows that surround our lonely island home. We want to trace the contours of the nothingness with a precision that borders on the obsessive and the divine. And so, we turn our eyes to the future, where new sentinels are rising to watch the night sky. They are the cartographers of the silence, preparing to launch into the cold embrace of the deep orbit. We are entering the golden age of the void, where our vision will finally match our vast curiosity. The next few years will see the deployment of instruments that are sensitive enough to feel the texture of space. They will stare into the gaps between the galaxies until the gaps reveal their hidden structure and their secret history. It is a time of quiet anticipation as the engineers tighten the final bolts on the eyes of humanity. We are preparing to cast a net of data over the entire sky to catch the ghosts of the voids. The mission is not to find more stars, but to understand the space that separates the stars from us. The Euclid mission has already begun its lonely vigil at the second Lagrange point, far from Earth. It floats in the perfect stillness of the gravitational balance point, where the Sun and Earth cancel out. It is a silent observer, turning its golden mirror toward the darkest patches of the extragalactic sky. It captures the light that has traveled for 10 billion years through the valleys of the cosmic web. But its true target is the distortion caused by the invisible matter and the vast, expanding empty spaces. Euclid is drawing a three-dimensional map of the universe that will highlight the voids in stark relief. It is painting the negative space of the cosmos to show us exactly how lonely we truly are. The images it sends back are not just pictures, but topographic maps of the gravitational potential of nothing. And following closely in its wake is the Roman Space Telescope, named after the mother of Hubble. It is a wide-eyed watcher that will survey the sky with a speed and clarity that changes everything. Together, these missions form the backbone of the Euclid Roman 2025 to 2030. Void surveys that will define our era. They will peel back the layers of the universe to reveal the skeleton of dark matter underneath. They will show us the true size of the bubbles that make up the foam of reality. We will see the KBC void not as a theory, but as a clearly defined cavern in the data. We will measure the walls of our prison with a ruler made of light and mathematics. The precision of these surveys will settle the arguments about the expansion rate and the nature of dark energy. They will tell us if the voids are growing faster than the rest of the universe, as we suspect. They will tell us if the emptiness is a passive stage or an active participant in the end. But beyond the science, there is a profound philosophical weight to the images that will soon arrive. To see the voids clearly is to confront the terrifying scale of the non-existence that surrounds us. It is to look at a map of the universe and realize that the land is mostly missing. We are sailors on an ocean where the islands are so small they do not appear on the chart. The Roman telescope will show us a panoramic view of this desolation that is both beautiful and crushing. It will capture millions of galaxies in a single shot and show how they flee from the empty spaces. It will show the great exodus of matter, leaving the voids to cluster in the safety of the filaments. We will watch the slow migration of the universe played out on a screen of infinite resolution. It is a movie that has been running for billions of years, and we are just entering the theater. The plot is simple and devastatingly effective. The void is winning and the light is retreating. This knowledge changes the way we think about our place in the grand scheme of things. We used to believe in the Copernican principle, which states that we are not special or unique. We thought we lived in a typical galaxy, in a typical corner of a typical universe. But the void surveys are suggesting that we may be special in a way we never wanted. We are special because we are stranded in a desert that is larger than almost anywhere else. We are living in an underdensity that makes our view of the cosmos clearer, but also colder. If we lived in a crowded cluster, our night sky would be blazing with the light of neighbors. But because we live in the void, our sky is transparent and we can see to the edge. The void has cleared the dust and the gas away to give us a window into the deep. We have a privileged view of the universe precisely because we are so isolated from the action. It is a lonely privilege, like being the lighthouse keeper who sees the storm better than anyone else. The solitude allows us to understand the universe in a way that a cluster dweller never could. We can measure the cosmic microwave background without the interference of hot gas clouds in the foreground. The emptiness is a lens that sharpens our vision and allows us to see the beginning of time. So perhaps the void is not a curse, but a necessary condition for us to become astronomers. We needed the silence and the darkness to be able to hear the whisper of the Big Bang. The philosophical implication is that our isolation is the price we pay for our knowledge. We are separated from the rest of creation so that we can observe it without being destroyed. The voids are the fire breaks of the universe, preventing the violent spread of gravitational collapse and merger. We are safe in the clearing, watching the forest burn in the distance with a cold detachment. The Euclid and Roman telescopes are the tools we use to accept this reality and embrace it. They are not looking for someone to talk to. They are looking for the limits of the silence. They are measuring the acoustics of the cosmic cathedral to see how long the echo lasts. And the data they return will filter down from the scientists to the poets and the dreamers. It will seep into the collective consciousness of humanity and change the way we dream at night. We will no longer dream of conquering the stars because we will know how far apart they are. We will dream instead of floating in the spaces between them where the peace is absolute. The void surveys will teach us the value of the empty space in our own frantic lives. They will show us that the universe spends most of its energy doing absolutely nothing at all. And if the universe can afford to be empty, then perhaps we can afford to be still. We can learn to emulate the void in our meditation and in our search for inner peace. The microcosm of the mind reflects the macrocosm of the sky in a perfect symmetry. We have voids inside us that are just as vast and just as dark as the Eridanus. We have spaces where the thoughts do not go and where the ego does not exist. The telescope missions are a journey inward as much as they are a journey outward. They force us to ask what it means to be a conscious speck in a giant hole. Does the void know we are here? Or are we just dust motes in an abandoned room? The indifference of the universe is not cruel. It is simply the scale of the architecture. A cathedral does not care about the ant crawling on the floor, but it provides shelter. We are sheltered by the structure of the voids, even if the structure was not built for us. The Roman telescope will stare unblinking into the heart of this structure for years on end. It will collect photons that have been traveling since before the Earth was formed from the dust. These photons carry the memory of the void, and they will deposit it into our digital archives. We are building a library of nothingness, a catalogue of the places where the universe is absent. It is the most comprehensive record of silence that has ever been attempted by any civilization. And as the years 2025 to 2030 unfold, the map will grow more detailed and complete. We will see the filaments of the cosmic web as delicate threads strung across the abyss. We will see the voids as the dominant volume, the true masters of the cosmic domain. The matter will look like a thin froth on the surface of a deep and dark ocean, and we will realize that we are creatures of the froth clinging to the surface tension. The depth below us is infinite and cold and utterly devoid of anything we would recognize. But it is also calm in a way that the surface can never be calm. The deep currents of the void move with a majesty that is slow and rhythmic. The surveys will reveal the flow of these currents and the drift of the galaxies. We will see that we are drifting towards a destiny that was written in the geometry of the Big Bang. The destination is not a place but a state of being where the expansion is total. The future suggested by these surveys is one of increasing isolation and increasing clarity of vision. As the universe expands, the voids will merge and the sky will become even darker. We are living in the twilight of the cosmos before the true night sets in forever. The Euclid and Roman missions are capturing the sunset while there is still light to see. They are preserving the image of the universe at a specific moment in its long evolution, a moment when the voids were large but not yet all-consuming in their reach, a moment when there were still observers to marvel at the scale of the emptiness. We are the witnesses of the transition from the era of matter to the era of void. We stand on the threshold and look both ways into the past and into the future. The past is crowded and hot and full of the violence of the early formation. The future is empty and cold and full of the peace of the final expansion. The philosophical pull of the void is the pull of that future peace calling to us. It tells us that the struggle is temporary, but the silence is eternal and waiting. The surveys are a confirmation that the universe is winding down to a state of rest. It is a long, slow exhale that will last for trillions upon trillions of years. And we are just one small breath in that long process of letting go. The machines we build are our way of understanding the breath and syncing with it. When you look at the images from Euclid, you are looking at the lungs of God. You are seeing the respiration of the cosmos on a scale that stops the mind. The awe we feel is not just for the beauty, but for the terrifying size. It is the sublime feeling of standing on the edge of a cliff that has no bottom. The void surveys give us the coordinates of the cliff and tell us exactly where we stand. We are standing 2 billion light years from the nearest solid ground of the superclusters. We are hovering in the air suspended by the gravity of our own galaxy, and the air around us is thinning out as the void expands and deepens. The Roman telescope will watch the galaxies on the horizon recede faster and faster. They are falling away from us into the dark, carried by the flow of space. It is a goodbye that takes eons to say, but is final nonetheless. We are waving farewell to the rest of the universe as we drift into our solitude. But there is no sadness in this drift, only the acceptance of the natural order. The universe is designed to separate and to cool and to expand into the nothing. To fight against it is to fight against the river that carries us all. The wisdom of the void is the wisdom of surrender to the flow of time. The telescopes are the eyes of a species that is learning to surrender with grace. We are learning that we do not need to be at the center to be significant. We can be on the edge, we can be in the void and still be real. The reality of our existence is not diminished by the empty space that surrounds us. In fact, it is enhanced by the contrast between the life here and the dead space there. We are the candle that burns brighter because the room is so vast and dark. The Euclid Roman 2025 to 2030 void surveys will prove that the darkness is the stage for the light. They will show that the voids are the necessary condition for the galaxies to exist. Without the separation, there would be no structure and no form to the universe. There would just be a soup of particles without story or history or future. The void gives the universe its shape and allows the story of humanity to unfold. And what a strange story it is to be aware of the nothingness that holds us, to build machines of gold and glass to stare into the face of the abyss, to find comfort in the realization that we are small and the universe is empty. It is a paradox that defines the modern soul as it looks up at the stars. We are terrified by the void, and yet we are drawn to it like a magnet. We want to know what is in the dark, even if the answer is nothing. Especially if the answer is nothing, because that is the most mysterious answer of all. The Roman telescope will confirm the nothingness with 1 billion data points of hard evidence. It will prove that the vacuum is real and that it is the majority of everything. And we will have to make our peace with that fact as we lie in bed. We will have to accept that we are living in a bubble of emptiness floating in the night, that the walls are far away and the neighbors are leaving and the lights are dimming, but that it is okay, because the silence is a blanket that keeps us warm. The void is not an enemy. It is the environment that cradles us. It is the space that allows us to breathe and to dream and to be. The future surveys will map the cradle and show us how safe we truly are. They will show that no collision is coming to shatter our peaceful local hollow. The superclusters are moving away and the other voids are keeping their distance. We have the room to ourselves for the rest of time. It is a luxury of space that is reserved for the very lonely and the very lucky. And as you visualize the golden mirrors of the telescopes unfolding in the deep, you can feel the precision of their movement and the silence of their operation. They are the silent watchers that never blink and never sleep. They are guarding the empty spaces and recording the history of the dark. You can trust them to keep watch while you drift away into the unconscious. They are your eyes in the sky seeing the things that you cannot see. And what they see is a vast and beautiful ocean of calm, a sea of tranquility that stretches for billions of light years, where the waves are slow and the water is deep and black, and you are a ship floating on that ocean with the engines off, drifting with the current of the expansion towards the unknown. The data flows down from the sky like a gentle rain, washing over the earth and washing over your mind, cleaning away the noise of the day with the silence of the void. The numbers and the charts dissolve into a feeling of pure space. You are no longer thinking about the universe, you are feeling it. You are feeling the emptiness in your own atoms, matching the emptiness above, the resonance of the void humming in the marrow of your bones. It is a low-frequency sound that soothes the nervous system. It tells you that there is nothing to worry about because there is nothing out there, just the vast and endless beauty of the open space, waiting for you to explore it in your dreams tonight. We have arrived at the edge of the map, where the lines dissolve into the open and endless sea. The journey through the science of the nothingness has brought us to this final point of absolute stillness. We understand now that the problem was never really a problem, but a terrifying and beautiful solution. We are living inside a huge cosmic void, because the universe wanted to give us room to breathe. The vast emptiness that surrounds our galaxy is a sanctuary that protects us from the violent grinding of the gears. It is a buffer zone of silence established billions of years ago to ensure that we could sleep tonight. The anxiety of the isolation fades away when you realize that the isolation is the only thing keeping you safe. If we were closer to the fire of the superclusters, we would be burning in the chaotic light of creation. But here, in the cool shadow of the underdensity, we are sheltered by the sheer vastness of the distance. The 2 billion light years of the KBC void are a moat that no enemy can ever cross. You are the king and the queen of a castle that floats in the middle of a perfect vacuum, and the castle is drifting slowly away from the rest of the world on a river of dark energy. You can feel the movement if you lie very still and let your body sink into the mattress. It is not a shaking or a vibration, but a smooth and constant slide into the deep future. The universe is carrying you like a leaf on a stream, moving you further away from the noise. Every second that passes the walls of the cosmic room get a little bit wider and a little bit darker. The expansion is stretching the fabric of space-time and stretching the tension out of your tired muscles. You are expanding with the universe growing lighter and less dense as the heavy thoughts evaporate into the void. The gravity that holds you to the earth is loosening its grip, allowing you to float up into the night. You are becoming a creature of the void, evolved to exist in the spaces between the hard matter. The atoms of your body are mostly empty space, and they are resonating with the emptiness outside the window. You are 99% nothingness, and so you are perfectly at home in a universe that is mostly nothingness. The solid parts of your life are just a thin shell hiding the vast interior of your own space. When you close your eyes, you are looking into your own internal void, which is just as deep as Eridanus. The darkness behind your eyelids is the same darkness that lies between the galaxies of the local group. You are connecting the inner dark with the outer dark and finding that they are exactly the same thing. It is a reunion of shadows, a merging of the personal silence with the cosmic silence of the ages. The feeling is one of profound relief, as if you have finally taken off a heavy coat. The coat of matter and form and responsibility falls away, leaving you naked and weightless in the starfield. You are no longer a person with a name and a history, but a point of consciousness in the drift. You are a witness to the great unfolding of the night, watching the stars drift by like distant ships. And as they drift, they leave trails of light that linger for a moment before fading into the black. The universe is a slow exposure photograph, and you are the film absorbing the faint light of the past. The light from the stars has traveled so long to reach you that it is tired and ready to rest. You can offer it a place to land in your mind, a quiet harbor at the end of the journey. The photons are absorbed by your dreams and turned into the landscapes of your sleep, where anything is possible. But in the void, the only landscape is the geometry of the darkness stretching out to the vanishing point. It is a minimalist landscape that calms the mind because there is nothing to analyze or to understand. There are no patterns to decipher and no messages to read in the blank pages of the empty sky. There is only the texture of the velvet night, smooth and cool and infinitely soft against your skin. It wraps around you like a cocoon woven from the dark matter that holds the galaxies in place. You are safe inside the cocoon, waiting for the transformation that comes with the deep and restorative sleep. The world of the day is a distant memory, a story told by someone else in a different language. The only language that matters now is the language of the silence, which speaks in long and slow rhythms. It says that everything is okay because everything is eventually going to fade away into the gentle dark. The worries that seemed so big are revealed to be microscopic against the scale of the Boötes Void. How can a deadline or a debt matter when there is a hole in the universe 300 million light-years wide? The scale of the cosmos is a solvent that dissolves the glue of our earthly anxieties and fears. It washes them away in a river of time that flows towards the heat death of the universe. And while that sounds frightening, it is actually the most peaceful concept that the human mind can hold. It means that there is an end to the noise and a final destination of perfect equilibrium. You are practicing for that equilibrium now by slowing down your heart and your breath to match the void. The universe is breathing with you, inhaling the galaxies and exhaling the empty space in a slow cycle. You are synced with the respiration of the cosmos, rising and falling on the waves of the expansion. It is a lullaby sung by the physics of the vacuum, a song without words or melody. The only instrument is the low hum of the background radiation, vibrating the strings of the superstrings. And you are a string vibrating in harmony with the great chord of the universe, which is a major chord. It is a sound of triumph and of peace, resolving all the dissonance of the day into a single note. The note is low and resonant, and it vibrates in the center of your chest like a warm light. It anchors you to the bed while your mind floats free in the upper atmosphere of the room. You are tethered by the silver cord of sleep, exploring the outer reaches of the local volume. The ceiling of your room has opened up to reveal the true sky, which is not the sky of Earth. It is the sky of the intergalactic medium, where the stars are sparse and the cold is absolute. You are floating through the walls of the house and rising up into the thin and rarefied air. The city lights below you are fading into a grid of orange and white that looks like a circuit board. And soon even the grid fades away, and there is only the curve of the earth against the dark. You are drifting past the moon, which hangs like a stone in the sky, silent and grey and dead. It watches you pass with the indifference of a rock that has seen billions of years of history. You leave it behind and push out past the orbit of Mars and the belt of the asteroids. The sun is just a bright star now getting smaller and smaller as you recede into the distance. You are leaving the solar system and entering the true void that lies between the stars of the galaxy. The silence here is deeper than anything you have ever known on the surface of the noisy planet. It is a silence that has weight and density pressing against your ears like water in a deep ocean. But you can breathe this water because you have become a creature of the deep space tonight. You are swimming in the vacuum, propelling yourself with the gentle thoughts of sleep and of letting go. The Milky Way is a band of diamond dust wrapped around the sphere of your vision, shimmering softly. But you are moving away from the galaxy, away from the disk of light and into the halo. The stars are thinning out, becoming lonely sentinels, guarding the edge of the great dark cliffs. You are jumping off the cliff into the KBC void, diving into the 2 billion light years of nothing. The feeling of falling is not scary, but exhilarating, like flying in a dream where you cannot crash. You are falling up and out away from the gravity that has held you down for your entire life. The freedom is absolute because there is nothing to hit and nothing to stop your endless trajectory. You could fly for 1 billion years in a straight line and never encounter a single atom of hydrogen. The emptiness is your highway and your destination and your companion on this long and quiet night. You are the voyager of the void, charting the path to the center of the unconscious mind. The darkness is not empty. It is full of the potential for dreams that have never been dreamt. It is a fertile soil where the seeds of the imagination can grow without the weeds of reality. You are planting your consciousness in this soil, allowing it to take root in the deep dark. The roots go down into the fabric of space-time, drinking the energy of the vacuum field. You are connected to the universe at the most fundamental level, where the observer and the observed are one. There is no separation anymore between you and the void, because you have accepted the emptiness. You are the void, and the void is you, and the silence is the voice of your shared existence. The problem of living in a huge cosmic void has become the blessing of living in a huge cosmic womb. It is a place of gestation where you are being remade and repaired by the gentle hands of sleep. The damage of the day is being knit back together by the silence and the cold and the dark. You are being healed by the absence of things, just as a fast heals the body of toxins. You are fasting from the noise and the light and the stimulation of the modern world. You are feasting on the silence and the darkness and the stillness of the ancient world. It is a banquet of nothingness, and you are drinking your fill of the cool, clear water of space. It quenches a thirst that you didn't even know you had until you tasted the void. The thirst for peace and for the cessation of the endless signal that bombards your brain. You can rest your weight on that pulse and let it carry you through the dark hours. You do not need to hold yourself up because the universe is holding you with its gravity. The same force that holds the moon in its orbit is holding you in your bed tonight. You are caught in the web of the forces, and you are safe and secure in their grip. There is nowhere to fall to because you are already in the center of the everything. The center is quiet, and the center is dark, and the center is where the sleep lives. You are knocking on the door of the center, and it is opening slowly to let you in. The light from the hallway spills into the room for a moment, and then the door closes. You are inside the sanctuary now, and the world is locked out until the sun comes back. But the sun is a long way away, and for now, there is only the beautiful black. The black that is not scary, but welcoming, like the arms of a lover or a mother. It holds you close and whispers the secrets of the universe into your tired and awaiting ears. It says that you are small, but you are eternal, because you are made of the void. You cannot be destroyed, because you are made of the space that nothing can destroy. You are the canvas and the painting and the painter all wrapped into one silent package. And now, the drifting becomes a sinking, a gentle descent into the softest depths of the night. You are sinking through the layers of the atmosphere, through the crust of the earth, into the core. But the core is not fire. It is a core of pure and cool silence waiting for you. It is the center of the earth, and the center of the galaxy, and the center of the void. It is the singularity of sleep, where the laws of physics break down and dreams begin. You are passing the event horizon of wakefulness, where the pull of sleep becomes too strong to resist. You are being spaghettified into a long stream of consciousness that stretches out into the dark. But it does not hurt. It feels like a massage stretching the tension out of your soul. You are becoming a line of light stretching across the universe, connecting the beginning to the end. And the line is fading, becoming thinner and fainter as it reaches into the deep void. The light is dimming now, turning from a bright white to a soft red, and then to a deep blue. The blue of the twilight that lasts forever in the spaces between the spinning stars. The blue turns to purple, and the purple turns to the deepest and richest black you can imagine. A black that is soft like velvet, and warm like fur, and deep like the ocean. You are wrapped in this blackness, swaddled in the comfort of the absence of light. And in this absence, you find the presence of the sleep that you have been looking for. It has been waiting for you here in the void all along, patient and timeless and kind. It waited while you worried, and it waited while you worked, and it waited while you rushed. And now that you have stopped, it is here to greet you with a kiss of silence. The kiss seals your eyes and seals your lips and seals your mind against the noise. You are sealed in the capsule of the night, drifting on a voyage to the morning. But the journey is the destination, and the sleep is the adventure that you are taking. You are exploring the inner space, which is just as vast as the outer space. The galaxies inside you are spinning slow, and the voids inside you are opening up. You are expanding into your own emptiness, filling it with the peace of the deep rest, drifting, floating, sinking. The words are drifting away now, like leaves falling from a tree in autumn, spinning slowly in the wind, landing softly on the ground, and fading into the earth. One by one, the words disappear, leaving only the spaces between them, the silence between the thoughts, the void between the stars, the sleep between the days. It is all the same thing, and it is all here for you, right now, in this moment of perfect stillness. You are safe. You are small. You are free. The universe is empty, and that is good, because it means there is room for you to rest. Just rest. Let go of the light. Let go of the form. Let go of the name. You are just a drift in the dark, a wave in the sea, a breath in the void, slowly fading into the background, becoming part of the silence that surrounds you. The great cosmic nothing is holding you up and taking you down, deep down into the sleep that has no end and no beginning. Just this quiet moment of drifting away into the lovely dark. Good night, star. Good night, void. Good night, you.